They tried to move into Melbourne. Part of the deal moving into Melbourne, this commercial FM duo who've been around for a couple of decades, been working together for a couple of decades, they're going to get paid an extraordinary amount of money. If you include all the bonuses and their future earnings, something like $200 million over 10 years. So the potential to earn $20 million a year. I thought it was a publicity stunt, I'll be honest. But then when the company gave a statement to the stock exchange, you can't lie to the stock exchange, publicly traded company. He has been suspended. She has quit. So what comes next? If you've never listened, I just want to give you a sense of, if you get paid more than anybody else in the media, this is what you get paid to do. The ostensible spark of the confrontation is he doesn't like the fact that she, Jackie Henderson, is interested in astrology. Here's a little snippet of that.
You're off with the fairies with.
Tell me where. No. Tell me where I've been off with the fairies during the show.
I don't have to prove anything.
No, you do. You can't accuse me of doing something and then say I don't have to say it.
Listen to the program. You'll hear yourself.
Keep in mind, we're on delay, right? There's a 10-second delay, so you can't say things that could get us into trouble if you ring up Talkback. They've got a live censor in their studio. They've come the cropper with the people who regulate radio so many times. They've got a live person in the radio while you're listening to that, trying to make sure they remove offensive content. As I mentioned, they have said things that could have prejudiced a trial, a significant trial. They didn't seem to get into trouble for that even. Before we try and work out exactly what this says about all of us, that this relationship and this commercial deal's blown up, this is what it sounds like.
I come in here and I do my job and I do it well.
I don't know whether I wouldn't say that blatantly. No, I wouldn't agree.
Well, you know what? You get someone else then.
What does it mean? What does it say about us and what's going to happen? Wade Kingsley joins you. He's a radio consultant and host of the Quarter Hour podcast. Thanks for joining us, Wade.
Hi, Raf. How are you?
I'm okay. Are you surprised?
Not surprised. Kyle and Jackie have been together for about 27 years, and in that time they've had their fair share of disagreements, but it's fair to say this one was really, really personal. And what you probably heard in the audio grab there is Jackie really taking offence at Kyle effectively embarrassing her, having a go at her work ethic on air. And while they've had disagreements on content topics, news stories, celebrity gossip, the disagreement they've had here pretty much was the last straw for Jackie.
They've said some really revolting things and done some really disgusting things to listeners. How does this rank compared to that stuff, do you think?
Well, I mean, it's a tale of two cities, Raf, because the thing that we in Melbourne have to remember is this is the number one FM breakfast show in Sydney. We hear all the headlines. We hear about how they spectacularly failed in Melbourne, and they absolutely did. There wasn't any real audience gain in Melbourne for that radio station. In fact, when you look at the radio ratings, 95% of Melbourne radio listeners didn't listen to them. So the impact in Sydney is way different to the impact in Melbourne. And when you think about the impact in Sydney, this is a marriage breakup. This is a couple that most people have listened to on the way to work, and yes, even on the way to school for some people in Sydney for the best part of a couple of decades, and they're now gone. That's it. And I think what's important to note here is that while they've had their disagreements, Jackie, I think this time probably felt like she wasn't supported. What you don't hear in that audio, but you hear later on in the conversation they had a couple of weeks ago, was Kyle asking the rest of their production staff, the rest of the team that work on that show, is if anyone has anything to say to Jackie, and it's deathly silence. And I think in that moment,
that's close to sort of some form of abuse in the workplace. I just might ask my question again, Wade. I don't know if you've got a strong opinion, but they've said, horrific things about women. They've said entirely inappropriate, disgusting things to young women on the air. Where does this fit into that?
Well, I think the distinction I'm making, Raf, I think is this is a normal fare. Like, right. If you're in Sydney, this is nothing necessarily new. Now, it's new to us in Melbourne because not only have they tried it in Melbourne and failed, we've actually universally rejected that kind of content. And look, the vast majority of that content is from Kyle. Jackie is absolutely there as a co-host of the show, but all the headline-grabbing stuff, all that disgusting stuff really does come out of Kyle's mouth. And so I think Jackie has finally, pulled the rug out on that.
Do you think the people that run this radio station are happy or sad? Has this been engineered in some way? Do they want to get this huge bill off their hands?
Well, I guess we'll find out when the stock exchange opens this morning, Raf. I mean, they're a publicly traded company. As you said, they made a statement to the stock exchange. It was a board-level statement. You know, this isn't just the usual stunt kind of stuff. And I think that's an important distinction, because most people and people, my family, friends, were saying, oh, surely this is a stunt. No, it never was a stunt. And what we've noticed, I think, in terms of what happens next for that company, Australian Radio Network, who runs that radio station and brand, is that they now have a $200 million problem off their books. I'm assuming there's going to be some legal costs and factors going forward, particularly from the Kyle side, I think. Interesting, in their statement, they noted that they are willing to offer Jackie a new program with their network.
Yeah, so they're happy with her and not with him, it seems. Well,
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, your listeners probably don't listen to Kyle and Jackie O, I'll make that assumption. But what they might be aware of is there's been a concerted campaign from a group called the Mad Witches for a while now.
The Mad Effing Witches, yes. Do you think that's contributed?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, they've deliberately been lobbying direct advertising clients of that network, bombarding them with demands that they stop advertising, and to a large degree that's worked. So from the parent company perspective, yes, there's a salary implication. They were paying these people what effectively worked out to be $50,000 per show. I'll just say that again, $50,000 per show each, and I can assure taxpayers, Raf, you're not getting paid anywhere near that. So the parent company would be going, okay, so we get a cost off our books, but also it gives them a chance to have a different conversation with advertisers, which they absolutely need to do.
Wade Kingsley's with you from the Quarter Hour podcast. Interesting that you're giving some that's significant weight, I guess, to what you could call a consumer boycott in some ways from the Mad Effing Witches. Just one more thing, Wade, I guess, on how they are being treated. He's only suspended, right? He could end up staying on breakfast, and she would be potentially demoted, given a show somewhere else. Is that fair?
What it's sort of spitting out at in terms of all the legal language, and when you read the media release to the stock exchange, you can kind of tell when something's been heavily legaled. This one has. It basically says that they've given notice to Kyle. They've served notice that he's got 14 days to remedy behaviour, and the behaviour directly relates to that incident that you just heard before. That incident with Jackie. What Jackie has actually said to the company is that she refuses to work with him anymore, and as a result of that, the company has terminated Jackie's contract for her services. For Kyle, they've said to him, you are in breach of our contract. You have to respond within 14 days. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But I would predict that Jackie will still be on that network somewhere, and possibly still on Melbourne radio airwaves in 2027. I'm not sure Kyle will be. I think Kyle will be off in right-wing talkback land.
Joyous. Wade, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Raf.
Wade Kingsley from the Quarter Hour podcast. We will give you a chance to